What's up, guys? Happy Monday. We out here. Get this all figured out. Excellent. That looks good. All right, IG's online. We're good. Good afternoon, evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Joaquin Acosta, your guide and host on this enlightening journey. The Know Your Pharmacist Livestream. As the CEO of Pharmtrue, I'm here to bring you not just information, but inspiration directly from the heart of healthcare innovation. Tonight, we're diving into topics that matter with insights that empower and transform. In our Pharmacist Frontline segment, we're tackling a critical issue that's shaking the core of global health, the fentanyl crisis in Mexico. We're going to explore the recent raids on pharmacies and discuss the broader implications of this alarming trend. Conversation about vigilance, responsibility, and the ripple effects on communities worldwide. Next, in Tech Talk, we're going to analyze the latest of the opioid prescription trends. This data at our fingertips will uncover patterns and insights, cross-examining it with, segment 1 in the fentanyl crisis here in the United States, guiding us towards a more informed and compassionate healthcare practices. About understanding the numbers to make a real difference in people's lives. Our Enlightenment Hour is dedicated to chronic low back pain and condition affecting millions. We're going to delve into the WHO, World Health Organization's groundbreaking new guidelines, actually covering and discussing holistic, non-surgical interventions that promise relief and hope. This is where science meets empathy, where we learn to treat not just the symptoms, but the whole person. In the Herbal Wellness Corner, we're addressing a hot topic, guys, staying on the theme of cannabis and the opioid crisis. We'll separate fact from fiction, exploring the potentials and pitfalls of cannabis and pain management, and debunk, some interesting predictions from 2019. Anyways, after that, our community spotlight shines on pause and take a break with Santa, a heartwarming initiative supporting homebound seniors and their furry companions here in Las Cruces. It's about the power of community compassion and the little things that make a big difference. And finally, in our Men's Health Minute, we're talking about testicular self-examination, a simple yet vital practice for early detection and peace of mind. It's about taking charge of your health one check at a time. Join me as we embark on this journey of discovery, connection, and empowerment. Together, we're not just learning, we're changing the landscape of healthcare. All right, so delving in, guys. Mexico raiding and closing 31 pharmacies. Pretty interesting. Gage, what's up, man? But take a look at all this news here. Share this with you guys on the screen too. So you can see. Anyways, headline, 31 pharmacies in Mexico selling fentanyl-laced pills. So coming from the news from the Associated Press, Mexican authorities said Friday they raided and closed 31 pharmacies in Baja California's coastal city of Ensenada after they were detected selling fake or fentanyl-laced pills. Marines and health inspection authorities seized 4,681 boxes of medication that may have been offered for sale without proper safeguards, may have faked, and may contain fentanyl. So, right, guys, measure taken due to the irregular sales of medications contaminated with fentanyl, representing a serious health risk. Of course, we know where, a lot of the source of this is coming from, not only internal, but external, guys. And as we look at external, we are, of course, looking just south of us, as we know where the problem has been coming from, but doesn't mean it doesn't come from the north too. Anyways, this is actually one of the first time Mexican authorities have acknowledged that United States researchers pointed out almost a year ago that Mexican pharmacies were offering controlled medications like oxycodone, Xanax, or Adderall, but these pills were actually often fentanyl-laced fakes. So in the 53 total pharmacies authorities inspected, fakes were found in 31 of them. So, in August, Mexico had shuttered 23 pharmacies in the Caribbean coast resorts after authorities inspected 55 stores in a 4-day raid over in Cancun, Playa del Carmen, and Tulum. So we talked a little bit about that one. And then now, got another 31 stores getting popped over there in the next set of raids. And guys, this is still a problem. And we're going to talk about the problem and how the problem has shifted and morphed. So let's move into our tech talk here. Very interesting. The American Medical Association had ran the data up until 2022, last year, looking how opioid prescriptions are down 49.4% since 2012. Again, reminding everybody the United States of America is consuming 80% of the world's opioid supply at 5% of the world's population. So that was just from our doctors prescribing it. Now we've cut that number down in half since 2012. But where are we at today, right? When we're looking at it, even in the state of New Mexico, let's look at, back in 2012, we did 1.5 million prescriptions of opioids. And then we take that down to last year, 760,000 prescriptions, a 51% decrease. So we can pat ourselves on the back for that, coming down every single year. But, as we're still looking at, right, our Pharmacist Frontline segment, where Mexican pharmacies are still, completely supplying the opioid and fentanyl problems here in the United States. What we do know is back in 2012, 10 years ago, opioid prescriptions, 260.5 million prescriptions given, guys. The United States, already between these first 5 years created incredible amounts of addiction and, opioid epidemic related issues that had been boiling up for the past 20 years. And so even though the prescribing has cut down, people still are finding ways to get their opioids, hence Mexican pharmacies and fentanyl. Fentanyl, much more potent opioid. You can do a little, goes a long way with fentanyl, right? People are dying and so on and so forth. And guys, just interesting to see here as you look at our prescriptions that have been cut down in half, for opioids. But right now, people in the United States dying from opioids is worse than it's ever been, right? So again, the problem hasn't been solved. We just created this giant problem to where people are going to seek for solutions because their doctors are not going to prescribe it anymore in the streets, right? And if you can get in the streets, online, Snapchat, whatever you're doing to acquire those opioids, or just grandma's cabinet, people are still doing it. That's the problem. And as we talk about that, right, it's just a lot to recognize. It's a lot to unpack. So let's talk about another contributor to the opioid epidemic. Low back pain, right? This is one of those common ones where many people can go see that doctor and in the past get a quick prescription for an opioid, a muscle relaxer, so on and so forth, leading them down the bad path. However, that's not the only path. It's not only bad for going to get low back pain treatment. It's just nice to see the World Health Organization look at releasing their new guidelines, which I actually think this is an impactful release here. So you're looking at, right, in 2020, approximately 1 in 13 people, which is 619 million people in the world, experiencing lower back pain, 60% increase, risen from 1990. And again, they're still going to continue to rise. Great. And what are we going to talk about in terms of all the associated health outcomes and negative health outcomes with it? It's a lot. And we look at, right, the opioid epidemic there. And again, a big contributor to what just might be one of the problems. So again, the World Health Organization recommending non-surgical interventions to help people experiencing primary lower back pain is pretty cool here, because this isn't something that you used to see in the guidelines. And I'm sure maybe there might be even some physical therapists in this realm that are looking at these guidelines that may feel a little insulted, maybe even, right? Like, I like this chart here from Dr. Bo Hightower. He's a chiropractor out of Albuquerque, does a bunch of UFC, so on and so forth, but gives you a good visual to this whole situation. So looking at World Health Organization recommendations in favor of non-surgical interventions for lower back pain, right? Structured and standardized education or advice, great. I mean, could be a very, useful thing or not. But some of the other things here, interesting enough, psychological therapies when you're talking about back pain, cognitive behavioral therapy or operant therapy, right? Actually discussing out what sort of things that may be stored in that lower back that need to be released, right? Because again, what's cool here is they're seeing a multi-component biopsychosocial care here for attacking back pain, right? AKA care that addresses two or more factors that may influence a pain experience. So physical, psychological, or social, where that is all being wrapped up into a nice little package of therapy. So where you're looking at non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, topical cayenne pepper, man, this all leads to a bunch of practical solutions here for people that actually might be better than masking problems with muscle relaxers, opioids, right? Not addressing, foundational problems that have to do with anxiety or PTSD that could be truly stored in people's muscles and bodies. And the World Health Organization, right, is actually acknowledging it. So let's look at the ones that they're recommending against now, right? Recommending against, right? 14 non-surgical interventions that should not be offered as a part of routine care in most concepts. So looking here, certain physical therapies, traction, ultrasound, TENS machine, lumbar braces and belts, right? Some medicines, opioid analgesics, antidepressants, anticonvulsants, skeletal muscle relaxants, glucocorticoids, injectable anesthetics, devil's claw, white widows, pharmacological weight loss, right? Your Ozempic, so on and so forth. So, some of these quick fix measures that probably, allow people to bypass some of this other stuff are leading to cascades of back problems that aren't getting fixed, so on and so forth. Also leading to, the opioid epidemic and people seeking quick band-aid solutions that are not well understood. So, shout out to the World Health Organization on that. Something that really, I think, is going to benefit and be impactful in the world itself, for sure. Let's move on to our Herbal Wellness Corner, guys. This one here, this is funny because there's many articles actually that came out back in like 2019 and these times before about how cannabis is not a public health solution to the opioid crisis. LOL. So I'm like, this aged well, right? As we're talking about, everywhere that we're at today, because again, cannabis is an absolute public health solution to the opioid crisis because, guys, we have pain receptors that have not only opioid, receptors, but you also have cannabis receptors along those pathways as well. So cannabis mechanistically helps to increase, the benefits from taking opioids by taking less amounts of opioids. So, you can help increase the perception of pain, increase all the things that have to do with pain, chronic pain therapy, and lower those opioid dosages, introduce cannabis, right? And, mechanistically, our bodies were built for that, right? And where we look at, cannabis not being able to help that, guys, I mean, this cracks me up because, again, this definitely aged terribly. If there's one thing in this world that, you're looking at things like, whatever it may be, naltrexone, I mean, Narcan's great to have, don't get me wrong, but how are you actually going to get people off of these opioid doses? How are you going to get the opioid doses lowered? How are you going to treat the underlying problems to maybe, the pain or the trauma that also contribute to the opioids being consumed? Cannabis, absolutely, right? You're looking at the amygdala, the pain receptors along the spine, and the synergy between cannabis and opioids, for what was not understood 3 to 4 years ago, for 5 to 10 years ago, just acknowledging the fact that not a lot of data is out there to support cannabis as, not the solution to the opioid crisis. So therefore you couldn't say it. Geez, that's just suppressing the inevitable. And I think it's hilarious to talk about here because cannabis is the ultimate solution to the opioid crisis. This headline aged terribly, LOL, to the author of this. I'm just going to call her out too. And we're not even going to read this. So Hazelden, Betty Ford, you wrote a crappy article and you suck. Bye. So, on to some beer news, guys. Shout out to the city of Las Cruces. Pause and take a break with Santa. Cool stuff. Here to spread the joy and or homebound seniors and their furry friends, join senior program City of Las Cruces Pet Smart. December 16th and 17th from 12 to 3 p.m. for free picks with Santa Claus, donating pet food and supplies to support Meals on Wheels with seniors. So again, Mr. and Miss Claus, you and your furry friend, go get out there this 16th and 17th from 12 to 3. Help support homebound seniors age 60 and older and their beloved pets. Cool deal. So that's our community spotlight for today, sponsored by the Baked Chicken Farm. Last thing, guys, Men's Health Minute. Awkward conversations, but needed. And the directions. Let's go over this. Testicular self-examinations. Tomorrow we'll be going over skin checks. Today, guys, talking about NARDs, right? So, again, when's the best time to check them? After a warm bath or shower. Skin around the scrotum is relaxed. You're going to be grabbing around that ball, checking for irregularities, not only on the skin, but on the surface of the testes, checking for, again, different and unusual signs. And if something is wrong, if something doesn't feel right, talk to the doctor. That's my call to action for guys. This week, this month, this year, check your NARDs. Testicular cancer is 95% treatable. Just got to get ahead of it. Cool? Any other questions, guys? Fire them on down. I don't have much else for you to be able to. I hope you guys are shopping those awesome High Horse Cannabis Company deals right now here in Las Cruces, Chaparral, and Hobbs, guys. $80 ounces. Oh my, what a good deal. So on and so forth. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. Hope everybody has a